you guys actually asked me how to write the thesis and the tips for that. So before going to that, I thought it's better to start with the abstract, because even if you want to write a thesis, or if you want to write a article or anything like that, you still need abstract. If not, if you're thinking to go to a conference, or if you're going to publish your abstract in future, that's also really important. That's another skill you really need to survive in grad school, even in your undergrad, if you're doing research. So there are thousands of video in internet and articles. So if you go to the internet, you can find them, and they're explaining how to write the abstract. So I actually watch them, and it's kind of boring how they actually explain that for me. I don't know if that's the same case for you, so I'm trying not to bore you. So I have some tips that actually not they covering. That's something I learned, and this is the way I'm thinking the best way to write the abstract. And I think that's the actual extract of the abstract. So if you know how to write that part, then you can eventually build the other things around it. So let's get it in. So the first thing is you need to know this is the best, and this is the extract. I mean, that's the that's the pinnacle of your abstract. So you need to have a really good hypothesis. If you don't know what is hypothesis, that's mean the counter argument, or the argument you're going to prove in your research, and what you're actually going to prove in your research. That's what hypothesis, you can say like that. So you have to have a good hypothesis. Like it shouldn't be really a vague one. It shouldn't be something you cannot actually achieve a given period of time. For example, if you're thinking to find a cure for cancer within 3 months, and it's not really possible to do. I mean, it could be it's not really possible, the timeline and how you're going to do it within 3 months. So something like that should be actually possible to do. That's the first thing. And second thing should be really precise. That means they need in details what you are really going to do. So if your hypothesis fail, so it's no point of reading the whole thing. So what they actually look at is your hypothesis. So if your hypothesis is strong enough, they will look at your abstract, and they will read the whole thing, and they will accept for journals, they will accept for conferences or things like that. So I actually wrote one for ASMBM I think this year, and it's actually accepted, and I got awarded for that. But unfortunately they canceled the event because of the COVID-19. But I'm telling you with my experience how is that. So ASMBM is American Biochemistry and Molecular Biology Society. So they actually I got an award from them for my research. So I actually had to present my research in the conference, but it cancelled because of the COVID-19. But it's fine, I'll try it next year. So I'm telling you what are the tips that I used, and obviously I got my support from my supervisor and my research group. They are always with me. So without their help, it's not really a possible thing to do. So as I told you, it should be really precise. So you should have to tell what groups you're using, what type of animals or what type of treatment groups you are using, and if you have using animals or anything like age group and time period, and how you're going to do it, and what kind of results you are expecting. The results again should be really precise. So I'm expecting this treatment will increase the effect, or like decrease the effect of this right group during this time period. Like it should be really precise. So you have to write that in detail. So if it is not really in details and it's not really explicit what you're trying to say, what you're trying to do, so it's a huge fallback. So that's what I'm telling you. So your hypothesis is really important. So if you already have a supervisor, just write your hypothesis and show it to him or her, and get the feedback, because this hypothesis is really important. So once you have really good hypothesis, then it's easier for you to build up your abstract. Another thing I want to tell you, sometimes it's not really necessary to have your results with you when the time you're writing the abstract. For example, if you want to go for a conference and you're still working on your results and data, and you don't have the full data set right now, but at the time you're going to a conference, so you have that, but still you can write how this, you can write the abstract, and you can actually predict, okay, I'm going to get these results, and finally eventually when you're done with your result, it's completely different from your abstract. It's just fine. For, I'm saying, for a conference it's fine. Okay, so remember that too. And if you have a good hypothesis, then we'll move into the introduction. So you can write an introduction like what kind of stuff you're going to do and what kind of benefit you will get eventually with that, like a 1 or 2 sentence with that. And then you're explaining your hypothesis like in brief explanation, like full 1 sentence of this is my hypothesis is like blah blah blah. You need to explain that, and then you need to write the object of why you're doing this research. So the object of my research project is like blah blah blah. You can write that down. So it's really precise because you have limited amount of words you can use in abstract, so you need to write most important stuff in the abstract. Okay, you can keep all the other information for your poster presentation or your article, or your thesis or anywhere else, but for the abstract is the crucial thing. You just include most important information. And let's see. And as I told you, begin with the precise statement. So even you begin with the introduction, bring a precise statement for that, so that eventually capture the attention of your audience, whoever is reading your abstract. And then you could have a good hypothesis, as I explained earlier. Then you followed up with the good methods and the design. So you have to explain a little bit about your method and design. So that's mean, again, you are not explaining whole method you're using, like these are the samples I'm using, and these are the temperatures, and these are the timeline I'm using. Like, no, you're just explaining a little bit, okay, of if you're using PCR or if you're using NMR, like you just mention those are the methods you're using. So now you explain your method. So you just mentioning what are the methods you're using and the design. So if you have a treatment and control groups and like that kind of really crucial information, just to understand what's going on. So you are not explaining a whole thing, and that's up to the method section in your poster or in your article or in your thesis. So okay, and then you need to explain the major finding. That's again really crucial. Again, if you are writing your abstract for an article or a journal and for a conference or like any competition or anything, like they need real findings, because if you have findings, that's really good because you have proof in your hand, so you can just show that your hypothesis is actually working. Okay, that's the important thing. So you have to include only the crucial finding you have, not the everything you have, just the crucial ones you have. For example, if you have done so many PCRs and you have a different gene expression, but you just need to explain the crucial point you get, like if you see increasement of the let's say lipolysis related gene expression, you're just saying that, you're not explaining all the genes and the or any mechanism behind that's not in abstract. Usually it's going to the your discussion section. It's something you need to explain, but in detail, not in detail, but in the abstract you're just mentioning the crucial point, like the extract of your findings, like most important finding you have, just to back up your hypothesis. Okay, you need to give them the important keywords, like most crucial keywords. So for example, you say your abstract is actually published somewhere in a journal or somewhere, then if somebody wants to find your abstract, you need to write what are the crucials and what are the most important keywords. So it's really important to find the best keywords. Sometimes they will give you, you just need to put only 5 keywords. So then what are the 5 most important keywords you're going to use? Sometimes the method you use, sometimes the key finding you use, and eventually you need to write a conclusion. So as I told you before, so the conclusion is that you need to conclude everything you told before, you said before. So abstract is one single story. That's mean your initial statement and your hypothesis and your design and method and the findings and the conclusion. They all try to convey one message, only one. So if you're going to tell two different things, it's going to really mess up the everything. So it should be really precise and it should only focus on one thing and convey one point. That is the most important point of your research, and that's what you're actually trying to say at the hypothesis in explaining that in your hypothesis, and the finding and the conclusion. You said, okay, this is actually finally we can conclude this and like that. So you can just say like that. You can say, okay, so it significantly increased as we expected, or significantly decreased compared to the other group, like that. So you have to conclude everything in the conclusion sentence. So if you have extra number of words you can use, like for example they have like a word limit, so it should be normal, it's like 250 words or something like that. So characters, like some number of characters, so you still have enough space. You can just add a little bit of other finder you need to add or things like that. You can add a little bit of that, but most importantly those things should be in your abstract. So hope you enjoy this one, and see you in the next video.